This is the EVP Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
Ghosty over here.
And we have brought back, for the third time, Dave.
It's me. I'm back for the
Dave
third
is
time.
back.
Dave's back again.
Third time.
Guess who's back? Dave is back.
That means we love you.
Yeah, thanks. No,
three
it's-
times means you're in for life.
It's better than being jumped in, right? Does this mean you're going to beat the shit out of me? Like,
Twice.
Probably after this episode,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, do it all at once. Don't take turns.
It's the initiation.
Yeah, I'd rather just get it all over with.
Oh, yeah, no, we
We'll
gangbang.
do a Facebook Live.
We do a gangbang session.
Well, that'll be
I'm
Facebook
like
Live.
sitting
too.
on a couch looking fearful of what's
They'll
behind
be
me.
scared and fascinated.
Someone will. Some will be scared. Others will be fascinated.
Some will be both.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, thanks for coming back. This was kind of an impromptu thing. Like, Ghosty and I were getting ready to record. I got to Ghosty's house, and I'm like, you know what? We had a really neat experience last night on our investigation, and there's a story that we're going to tell later on in the show, and the only person that can help tell it is the person that experienced. So, I'm just like, you know what? We're getting Dave on.
Bring him on.
And I interrupted his baseball game. So, thank you for taking time out of your day in the middle of the day to come over and be a part of this show tonight.
No problem. That's why they have pause.
That's
On
always a good
live
thing.
TV.
Live
So
TV
whatever
has pause.
happened, go Giants.
Yay.
Yay, Giants. It was all baseball and hockey this morning.
So last night, the three of us, along with Mark, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, and DVO,
Who's not dead, apparently.
he's not. Well, he's alive on social media. His spirit lives on social media, but not on the podcast because
Time and stuff.
yeah.
And because
Ghost,
he's dead.
he can only manifest enough energy to be on social media for about 30 seconds at a time. It takes a lot.
It's
to
a
be on
quality 30 seconds though.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
very informative, to the point.
Yep.
So he gets paid the big bucks.
Right. That's why he gets a penny more than we do. So we investigated a new place we've never been to last night. The good old Ritz Theater in Tooele, Utah. Ritz, right?
The Ritz, yes.
The Ritz.
Which has been around since the 1930s.
1939 is when it was built.
1939. I'll just say the 30s so it sounds older.
The 30s.
Yeah. Like,
It hasn't been remodeled since.
there's been an add-on.
There was an add-on.
Yeah, there was.
So there's
Well, the decor is very, very old.
a lot of the stuff in there is like original
70s,
stuff from,
baby.
A lot of the stuff in there is original from like 1939.
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell. I mean, yeah, the rooms, the walls, I mean, it's all pretty old.
But why did we go to this haunted theater
Because it's in
in
Tooele.
1939? It does not meet the U.S. criteria of 100 years to be haunted.
You know what? It's crazy enough that this doesn't need it. Because it's Tooele and it's creepy as shit over there.
Tooele doesn't have the internet, so they have to have ghosts instead.
Yep.
So how did you hear about this place? Like what, because you're the one, Ghosty, that set this all up for us. I know I've driven past it on the way to Asylum 49. Never really thought much about it. It is possible that Brandy has mentioned to me at one point that it was haunted, and she'll let me know when she listens to this because she likes to correct me. No, but it's possible that I've heard it's haunted, but didn't really put much into it until you're like, we're doing this.
Well, because I've driven past it multiple times, and I just know that shit's haunted as hell. And I've been wanting to get in there and like talk to the owner, and I just never knew or never was in the area when it was open. And then one day, finally, just kind of happened, and it was locked because there was a movie playing. It was almost over. The owner was sitting there by the door, just kind of waiting for everyone to leave so he can clean up. So knocked on the window, got to talk to him. He got me in contact with our friend that we made, LaDon. But that night when I went to talk to him, he told me some really cool stories. So LaDon, she lives right above the theater. So he was like, yeah, talk to her. She'll help you out. So, but yeah, he sat and told me some stories for a good 20 minutes. And that was pretty cool. That was a really cool guy. And then talking to LaDon was awesome. But yeah, talked to her, arranged everything, and she got us in, and we did our thing.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
That's like pull of the year right there, man.
So
Sniper.
she's been there for 10 years, is what she told us. She's been investigating for 10 years. It is really cool because, I mean, I'm a little jealous of where she lives because she literally lives in the movie theater. There's a little apartment up above the theater near the projection room. And
So this thing, there's all these little nooks and crannies of this building that have all been used for something at some time.
yeah, the current apartment at one point was like a beauty salon, and then it was a radio station,
Yeah.
and now it's her apartment.
I feel like the Winchester had a movie section built on that house. It would be a lot like that, especially upstairs and all.
Right.
This is an L-shaped apartment. It goes around the
Right,
way
it was
here.
a trip.
It's like-
There's the back door.
it's like, well,
The
I'm
back
like
door and the
behind
front
me.
door face each other.
I'm like, is this gonna just drop me out to the street if I open this door?
Quite
Jesus.
possible. Well, see, the one door, it would have originally led you out to the street, but they took this alleyway that was in between the theater and another building and turned it into a second screening room. And it was weird because it's like, it's as long
It's
as the
long.
building. I mean, the main theater is long as well, but it's like a big ass like auditorium theater.
What's funny is with people of Tooele that listen to this, they'll be like, man, you guys
Right.
have never seen this
But-
before? It's
but
like
yeah.
well known there,
Yeah.
and this is our first time getting into
Just
The
imagine.
Tooele people won't hear this. They don't have the internet.
They have the radio, though.
They
do have a radio.
that theater too was like, just picture the end of the Poltergeist hallway where
It
the
is
moms
so
run in and then have
strange.
a movie screen at the end of it instead of
No,
running
it's
for
like
your
a
daughter
movie.
before she
No,
gets
it's
sucked
not-
into the
not a movie.
vortex.
It's like an airplane.
Yeah.
It's like airplane seating. And
Yeah, there's like one aisle
one
off
aisle
to
to-
the right
to the-
side.
yeah,
And
one
all
side.
the chairs are on the left.
and
It's so deep.
yeah,
It's
like
so
if
long.
you're sitting in the back, that's what your mom said.
I was like, oh man, I just threw that underhanded to somebody. I was looking at Tim first. I'm like, you're not
You're all,
gonna,
don't say it. Don't
Well,
say
he was-
it.
Did
He was
Tiki
in the
Matumbo
middle of-
on that one?
It was his turn to talk. So
Thanks for not cutting me off.
no, you cut yourself off.
Yeah, I had to. I wasn't gonna let that slide. Your mom did.
Home run.
It's really big.
If you missed the joke, rewind it.
But yeah, it's like a airplane seating pretty much. But if you're sitting in the back, damn, that would suck.
It's the length of the big theater, but only as
It's the length
like
that
a half-
matters, huh?
Yeah, it's the half, but it's a half. The tip is half as small as the
It is.
shaft, I
It
guess,
is.
if you will.
I think each row only had like 6 or 7 seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the front, I think, had 3.
Yeah, the very front row had 3, and yeah, it wasn't a very big screen. So I'm just looking at it, I'm like, yeah, back in the day when they actually used this, because I don't think they use
They
that
don't use
one
it anymore, no.
I think back in the day when they used that, like it would have probably sucked to have sat in the back. Like you would be able to hear anything because looking around there was speakers throughout the entire room, but the screen itself was not very big.
Do you think that it sold out? Do you think there's that many people in Tooele to sell that out?
Probably not.
Maybe they just bought the chairs beforehand, not thinking like this is just these chairs in the back are just pretty worthless to sit back here. Maybe we bought them already. Just
Fill it up.
Just fill it
Just
up.
fill it up.
We didn't think about this beforehand.
We got enough to narrow it down to 3 in the front.
Someone forgot the screen was about a third of the size of a normal movie screen.
Well, hey, maybe they made their money back on it though.
Yeah, it was a cool room, that's for sure. Very interesting place.
And then upstairs, there was the projection room, her apartment, there was the office, and then there was some stairs that we weren't allowed to go down, so I don't remember what was down in that room.
Also, the main theater room had 2 exits, one on each side, and a crying room.
Yes, they had a crying room. And it's not a common thing that
Not
you see in
anymore,
theaters.
it's not.
I've seen it starting to pop up at some of like the megaplex theaters, where it's if you haven't been to a theater recently, or if you haven't seen a crying room, it's literally a room where the children are crying in the movie.
You can just drop your kids off and boot them in there.
Yeah.
Just cry all you want, you dumbass kid.
Yeah, it's like a soundproof room,
Pressure sealed.
but it has like a window in it, so you can still see and hear the movie.
For nursing mothers.
There's a speaker in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Up on the top.
they get to watch.
So it's like you could still
Very
watch
small.
the movie without your kid disrupting everybody else in the movie, which is kind of a cool thing. Like, I said, I've seen one at like one of the megaplexes here locally in Utah, but
I wonder if it was a thing when I was a little kid.
I don't think it was.
I don't even know if I was ever sat in one. I think
I've
I was a
never
good
even
kid.
I've never heard of
I think
such
I was a
thing.
pretty good kid. I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I think I'd get my ass kicked if I cried in a movie.
I go back to going to movies since like the early 70s. I've never seen a crying room. I was like, what's that for? I had to ask.
We lived in the age where you get corrected.
Yeah.
You got corrected real quick.
Yeah, no, you.
You cry about it, no, you're gonna get corrected about it, and then
Now
go cry
you-
outside.
Now if you spank your kid, it's child abuse and
Right?
DCFS.
Yeah.
If you don't push them in the shopping cart when they're
Man,
13, and
You're gonna
when
get DCFS.
They're gonna be like, she wouldn't push me in the shopping cart. You're 13. Well, how am I gonna watch my TikTok videos and walk through the store?
I identify as handicapped.
That's cool. There was also a seating room that had a fireplace in it, which was really kind of a cool room.
Really comforting.
Really, yeah, it was nice.
It was a nice little barrier between the two.
Yeah,
It was a buffer between the two theaters.
It was.
with the fireplace.
Because I think that used to just be like the lobby before they added on the other theater. But so when we get there, and I know I'm sure she gets this a lot because she has this rule, and I'm really glad she has this rule. But I know one of our people last night started trying to prod her and get her to tell some of the stories and the history of the location. And what was her response to you, Dave?
She said she didn't like to give anybody information, and yes, she had several stories to tell, which she told later, but she just lets people go in fresh, which is really nice because it's nice to know just to get kind of a one-off, but nope. So I've never even heard of the place until you guys told me about it
So
a few weeks
here
ago.
we
I don't know
are.
Tooele.
So here we are. We're going to tell you some of these things that have happened. I actually have it on audio recording, and I might throw it on at the end of the episode, some of her stories. That way, if you don't want to hear the stories of then like what they've experienced, you don't have to. You can just skip the end part of it. Or we'll figure it out.
Or we can just add it on
We'll-
to the end of the audio.
Yeah.
We don't tell them every story.
So we're just going to tell you.
pick from.
We'll tell you what we experienced last night, and Dave had a really interesting experience last night, like I mentioned earlier. That's why we have him on. But I mean, for me, the night started off. I mean, we all started in the main theater, in Theater 1, and it started off like really slow. Like I wasn't really feeling anything much at first in Theater 1. Were you guys getting anything?
No, it was pretty dead at first.
We were just feeling the place out almost, just kind of they just turned the lights off, and obviously we're going to go to the nice big plush theater there. Pretty much everyone was in there. It was a good place just to chillax there for, for like 15 minutes.
Right, just kind of let the place settle down.
Yeah, and just kind of get everything set up. And obviously we were investigating, but again, it didn't feel like it was going to end that way. It's such a cool place.
So we'd mentioned that there was the two emergency exits off of either side of the theater, and David actually approached me and he's like, "Hey, have you gone in these rooms yet? Because I've seen everybody going in and out of the rooms. There's only 6 of us there last night, by the way." And you asked me if I'd gone in there yet, and I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Why?" And you explained to me.
I said that Leanne, I'm sorry. Is that right?
LaDawn.
Sorry. She didn't tell me any stories, but she said she showed me the videos of the shadow figures going by those doors. Because she took me to the spot, which is this entrance, and said, "Look down to the end there. There's your left, there's your right," and then showed me a couple videos of just shadows walking in the light of the exit going through the door there. And she goes, "There's definitely 2 different feels." That's all she gave me. I'm like, okay.
And that's all he gave me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't want to spoil it or tell you what I thought till
Yeah, you
till
didn't
later.
tell me. You didn't tell me what feelings or anything.
Right.
What you felt. So I started off. I walked over to the door on the right side of the theater. If you're looking at the screen, and I put my hand on the door, and I got this feeling like, "Don't go in here." I'm like, "Okay." So I walked to the left side, and I went in that door, and I just kind of felt out the information or felt out the room real quick. And I got this really strong feeling of like sadness in that room, and I felt like something tragic had happened there, and that was about all I was getting from that room. So I went to leave, and it was funny because when I put my hand on the door to push it open to leave, I got this really strong feeling like the person or the spirit that was in that room didn't want me to leave. And eventually I got to the point where like, okay, I got to go because I want to check out other parts of the theater. So then I walked over to the right side and back to the right side, and I went in that room, and I just felt a strong sense of like confusion, like someone felt like they were lost. So it's like you said, to me anyways, it had two very different feels to it. Mm-hmm. What did you experience?
Mine on the right was when I walked in, I felt like just a pressure coming down. And I can't really read, like if I ever tell anybody, oh yeah, there's a guy here, he's pissed, he's, whatever, he's from the 50s, his name's Steve, just call me a liar because I'm lying. That's not how I feel rooms out. So I just felt a pressure on the right side of my shoulders and like trap area, whatever, and it almost felt like I was like a grip, very light. It was more like just energy or something, and that's about it. And I started feeling just more like lightheaded, like stuffy and light, like almost getting lightheaded a little bit. And I'm like, okay, that's what that is. Let me go check out the other room or the other hallway or the exit. And to me, that was just more, it was breezy. Tim, like, so you had a different feel, but mine just felt like at least there was energy, which I found out why later, or at least there's some good airflow. Because like I said, like I told you guys, that's a place where feng shui goes to die. And there's just so many dead ends, no windows in that place. And it's because it's a movie theater, but there's a lot of rooms in it. And it seems like at the end is a
way goes to die.
Yeah, you just wind up in a
there's
like
no flow.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's cold, you're like stuffy down, especially in number 2. But anyway, I just felt more air. I didn't feel what Tim felt, but I think I was just feeling what she told you was down there.
Did you have any experiences in those rooms?
I did experience both different feels. Just like you guys said, but I was drawn to that padlocked area on that one to the left. I didn't know anything about it. I thought maybe it was just some kind of a storage closet, but I just kept looking at that like, I want to go in there, but oh well, it's locked, so I'll just leave it alone.
I didn't have that. I noticed there was a padlock, but I didn't think much of it.
So that's when it was talked about. I was like, I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Also, did you notice the crawl space behind the screen on the right side?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wish I was like the size of a 5-year-old and I just
run down there.
Cool place to shimmy through.
Just to go take breaks.
Yeah.
Go hide.
But no, not at 6'2", 240. I'd be more like, what am I?
So after all this was said and done, we kind of filled out the rooms. We started the investigation off. I know, Dave, you pulled out your dowsing rods and started asking some questions, and you had some interesting experiences with the dowsing rods. Yes.
Yes, I didn't, and I brought them out. I was going to ask questions, and usually pretty good. I like, especially in a seat. I had them good and sturdy. Now, was doing it at first. We again really quiet. Nothing was really happening for a good 20 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden, the left one, I was holding them steady. Just kept ticking back and forth, almost like a clock, back, forth, and it did this for as long as I wanted to hold it. It was like 2-3 minutes. I told him, like, Timmy, are you seeing this?
Yeah, I watched it.
I'm like, I got tired of doing it, and you said, well, ask him to come to center. All right, come to center. It was like, rip.
Yeah, and then stopped.
And then I'm like, okay, so, and then it sort of died down, and then I said, hey, which way should I investigate next? Point me to which way. And they both immediately flew over to one side. And this may be, I was recording, unfortunately I recorded like the first half, but my camera was set up looking down, and I haven't looked at it yet, down to the end of the theater with that big, like year-old camera.
Yeah, you had it on the stage, right?
Yeah,
pointing
and it was
towards
pointing,
the back.
yeah. So there's some, I'll have to see the video. I haven't looked at it yet, but very cool.
That would be cool to see that. See if anything shows up on that.
Of course, nothing. Like I said, we went to the back and it was kind of dead there. It wasn't really all that active, but maybe they just wanted us to leave.
Well, so you guys all left, and at one point, I think I was the only one in the main theater by myself. And I have a K2 that, or not a K2, but an EMF meter that I turn on the backlight on it so the screen's like a green color, and if it detects a big enough increase in EMF, it will actually light red and start beeping. And I found out last night that there's something in my wallet that will set this thing off. So I actually set it on a chair, like in the middle of one of the rows, and then I went and sat off to. I put it in like the middle of the.
Oh, is that your K2?
It's an EMF meter.
Okay.
It's not the K2. But I set it like on a chair, like in the middle of the row, and then I went and sat off to one of the sides. So I was probably a good 30, 40 feet away from it. And every now and then it would just start beeping randomly. I mean, it had probably sat there for a good 5-10 minutes not doing anything. And all of a sudden it would just start beeping. And I know Mark, he came in at one point and started asking questions. It wasn't really like responding to the questions, but it would beep every now and then. And like I said, it was sitting there for a while without any activity at all. And then it would just start beeping. And like there was no one near the EMF to set it off.
That's the one that went off for me later, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I like that one.
That one is pretty good.
You don't have to be watching it. You can. It will beep and give you a notification, letting you know that there's a change. I know we were kind of getting some activity with your flux a little bit in the main theater, but overall, the theater one, there wasn't a whole lot going on in there that I got anyways.
Yeah, not in the beginning at all, no.
Did you guys get anything in the crying room?
I was drawn to there in the beginning, but I didn't get anything. Like, I was drawn to it, but I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I went sat in there, but I wasn't feeling anything in there.
I was only in there for maybe 6-7 minutes, and I was doing some EVPs session, but there were people talking, which is fine because it's a small place and it was still early. So there was people talking, so I didn't really. But feeling, not really, not at all. I thought it sucked, and I'm like, man, this is just.
Oh, it sucked to sit.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm in the penalty box. And I was like, 2 minutes for checking, eh?
Right, after a woman gives birth, has a baby, and they got these narrow ass scenes.
Yeah, they're sticking them in rooms.
Yeah, that's like the one room I didn't go in. I kind of poked my head and looked at it, and that was about it.
Because it was small.
It was.
I mean, it was 2 rows, and there was probably like
made for much smaller people than you and me.
True.
Yes.
Unless I'm crying, I'm going there.
crying room for Ghosty. So I know you guys, because like I said, I was in the theater 1 by myself. You guys went over at theater 2 at all? Do any investigating theater 2?
Oh,
I didn't do much myself just because it was cold in there and I didn't bring a jacket.
it was. I had to go get my jacket later, and I was wearing a thick shirt.
Yeah, that was a really cold theater. Just because the way it was built, I guess, didn't have good insulation. Plus the roof was leaking, so that's why they're not using it anymore. And so they're just kind of using it for storage. But yeah, that was too cold. Like I wanted to investigate it, and I was drawn down to the front. I wanted to go to the front and investigate, but I'd go down there and I'd just start freezing.
Oh,
like,
dude, I had 2 jackets in my trunk of my car.
Really?
Oh yeah, and one they're light too. They're perfect for there. But I will admit they do say wisps on them.
I don't care. I'd worn it.
That's right. Mark wears his advanced paranormal.
He does. Well,
I should have been more vocal about me being a little bitch, crying and shit. I should have done that.
That's what they had a room for you.
I know. I should have went in there. Like, what are you doing in there for so long? I didn't bring a jacket, and I'm crying about it.
Yeah, this is the jacket-free zone in here. Yeah. Oh man. Always just. Yeah, I got 2 jackets.
Damn. I should have vocalized my angst. Damn
So
it.
so in the first half of the investigation, you guys didn't get much. I mean, you and I paired up for a little bit before we had to sit down with.
Yeah, and I was drawn to that area already. Like I told you, that's where I wanted to go.
So you told me you wanted to go up by the landing just outside the projection room.
Yes.
And wanted to do because we've never done the. I don't know the technique.
I should have looked up that technique too.
I thought about it on the way here. I'm like, I should look it up before we start.
I thought about it before you showed up too. We probably tapped in at the same time.
We're so good at this.
We probably tapped in.
So if you've watched, like, we were just watching an episode of Kindred Spirits, and they had Adam was sitting in the middle of an alley, wearing the blinders,
the blindfold and the headphones,
the noise canceling headphones, and what you do is you have the headphones connected to a spirit box. And you have someone else asking questions, and the person wearing the headphones is just
they don't hear the questions.
They don't hear the questions. They're just saying what they hear through the spirit box. And I thought it was funny because at one point they were also at a theater. They were some theater called the Rialto somewhere. And he's like, I don't feel very safe. And you and I just started laughing. It's like, yeah, because you're sitting in a dark alley,
sitting in an alley.
with noise canceling headphones and a blindfold on by yourself. Like his only communication with Amy at this point was they were using two-way radio. She was inside. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't feel safe either.
Right.
But so that's what we wanted to try last night. We've never done that before.
So we sat in an alley.
So we sat in an alley. So before we set that up, we wanted to kind of fill the area out, see if there was any spirits there that wanted to communicate. And I said, hey, can you give us a sign if you hear make some kind of noise? And then there was this really loud crashing noise on the hardwood floor. And everybody heard that.
Yeah, I never. Okay, we were like, oh, and Tim goes down. We knew what happened. But
Yes.
we now here to hear what exactly happened.
So
I'm like, that's definitely Tim.
apparently I have a sound when I fall.
That's a squatch. Everybody was...
That's a squat. That's definitely the
It didn't
squatch.
sound like 5'10", maybe what 190.
215.
Oh, 215, 215 lean.
No, it definitely sounded like a 6'5", 320 pounder.
Exactly.
We had actually gone down into the projection room. We went into the office. We're kind of filling things out, and we decided, Ghosty is filling energy in the little landing that's outside of the projection room, outside of her apartment. He's like, we should do the sensory thing here, and I go, okay. So I go back into the projection room to get the stool that I saw sitting there.
Head first.
Yeah, I went in there head first. So when you walk in, and she told us this all on the tour, there's a step that goes from the landing into the projection room. And I completely forgot about this step in the 30 seconds it took me to get out of the room to go back in the room. Missed a step and I was on the floor.
There's no floor here. Oh shit.
Ghosty's looking at me like, you all right? He's like, anything hurt? I'm like, nothing more than usual.
Like, is that what I think it was?
Oh, I'm sure. Because we were all down in the theater. I bet all our heads did this, like baby birds in a nest. And Tim, it's like, oh, there goes Tim. I guess I'm sure someone recorded that down there.
Oh my god,
your camera might have
The
done
remote,
it.
yeah, if it was still on, I turned it off about halfway through.
This is
if
before
it was
we
recording, you would have just seen his shadow of his head
Yeah.
just drop.
This is before we sat
not a
down.
wraith.
This is before we sat down with LaDawn and had her tell us the story. So if you had your camera running before we had the story time, then you would have gotten it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we did have some really cool interaction during that test we did.
We didn't think to bring headphones, but I had my Bluetooth earbuds.
Worked just as good.
Which worked perfect for how we did it.
Mm-hmm.
I put in the earbuds. I had the Echo Vox going, and I happen to have a blindfold in my car. Don't ask why. You never
I'm
know.
going to later.
You never know when you need a blindfold.
He plays pin the tail on the donkey a lot.
Yeah.
More
You'd
than
be
you would
surprised.
think.
There is a lot of impromptu pin the tail on the donkey parties. You got to be prepared.
That's what he does his Jedi trading too in the park.
Yes.
People throw apples at him.
Yes.
Tails
Tries to hit him
on
with a
him.
stick.
He pins
Well,
tails on him with his
it's like a medieval triathlon. So maybe not medieval, but
Stick the apple on the sword.
They bob for apples, and then once they get the apple, they're able to throw it at me at the dunk tank.
It's the reward.
Yes, you bob for apples. If you get an apple, you get to throw it, try to knock me down in the dunk tank. We should do that. That actually sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, well, splash the squatch.
Squatch splash.
Yeah, squatch splash.
So yeah, I get the Echo Vox going, and we got it to where I had the volume all the way up. I kind of put the reverb on to kind of drown out any outside noise. So we got it just right to where you could sometimes hear when the other person was talking, but you couldn't hear what they were saying.
Right.
And a lot of the times I couldn't even hear when you were talking. Going back and listening to the little bit of audio, because
I was talking quiet.
in our session I was using my wristwatch, my smartwatch to record, and I think on your guys' sessions I was using my actual Tascam. So I was listening to the session on the watch, and the audio quality was actually pretty good.
Nice.
And yeah, you had your voice just right to where it got to the point where I couldn't even tell when you were talking. So you're asking questions, going back and listening to it. none of my answers seemed really relevant to what you were asking.
No.
But something else cool did happen during that session.
Hell yeah. So the whole reason why I was feeling that whole area was that little breezeway between her front door and her back door.
It's L-shaped.
Yeah. So while I was sitting there or standing there, I felt something come up behind me. And it was like that cold pressure of something big standing there. And it was like just kind of looking over me. I knew it was there. I was like, that's you standing behind me, isn't it? And that that EMF meter you have just started going off, which never had gone off. I hadn't heard it go off all night. It's been there the whole time, hadn't gone off. The moment it came up on me and I asked that, boom, it goes off.
Yeah, so this audio segment was about 10, almost 11 minutes long, and it only went off, the first time it went off, I think it was about halfway through, was when you first asked if something was standing behind you. And it was funny because I almost said out loud, like, I felt someone standing behind me, and it was right about the time where you asked the spirit to.
I asked it to go touch your arm.
And then I think it was like, I don't know for sure because I couldn't hear him asking this, but I did feel like someone was
And then you said, look up.
Yeah, I did say look up.
You said, look up. So I wonder if it was something like near you telling you to look up.
Maybe.
Because this thing was tall and you were sitting on a stool.
I was sitting on a stool and I had, my eyes blindfolded, closed. I was kind of
maybe, I wonder if
my head was pointing down.
Maybe it was like looking at your face even. You know what I mean? It could have been face to face with you.
Maybe.
But because you're tall shit.
But you asked it if it could touch me, and then my EMF meter beeped again.
Then it goes and beeps again right after you, or was it before or after you said look up?
It was right after I said look up.
Yeah, you said look up and then beeps again.
And then you felt it behind you again, yeah?
Yeah, because it had moved away. I felt it, and it would when that had gone on, I realized I wasn't feeling it anymore because I feel it come up on me again. All of a sudden, it gets real cold, and I feel that pressure get closer to my back. And that's when I asked if it was there again, and boom, sets it off again for the third time. And then
that's when you woke me up, and not that I was sleeping, but that's when you kind of like
tapped you out.
Like, dude, you got to check this out. This totally just
like,
happened.
This shit just is going on right now. I know you can't hear or see anything, but this is what I'm experiencing.
So it was at this point we decided to have story time.
Yes.
And I'm not going to share a lot of or most of these stories. Like I said, I'll probably clip it and put it at the end of the episode. So if you don't want to know anything about this place other than what our experiences were last night, don't listen to any of the audio.
Because we'll probably be hosting some events here.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back. If we do events here, it's probably going to be very limited on how many people we bring because the location is very small.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
Would be just the three of us, the EVP team, and maybe 10 ticket holders. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll keep it small because it is not a big venue at all.
I think we could probably get away with
10.
12.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, the three of us would be 13.
We wouldn't have. Who knows? Yeah.
I mean, there will still be there. We'll still have the possibility of making. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
We'll figure it out.
So we have story time, and
business discussion later.
Business discussion. Yeah, we don't. They don't want to hear this nonsense. So one of the things that there was. I had kind of asked about, because I said I felt like tragedy in that one area. And I'm not going to go into any details other than she's like, I never tell anybody about what happened there.
But you got it.
But she's like, because you brought it up, I'm going to tell you. And I'm like, so has anyone else ever really picked up on this? And she's like, no, you're actually, in the 10 years I've been doing this, you're the first person to pick up on that energy. And I was like, that's really cool. She's like, so yay, you.
Your beard started glowing.
My beard, it was glistening in the moonlight.
And she literally said, yay, you.
She did, actually.
Yay, you.
But the one story I am going to tell, in the second theater, she mentioned that there was some green tape on the floor. And it was about halfway down. I had noticed the green tape. I'm sure several of us had.
I didn't think anything of it, though.
I didn't either. I'm just like, what is this, halfway mark?
The halfway mark, yeah.
That's what I thought.
It was setting off my black light flashlight. I'm like, oh, it's a piece of tape.
So about halfway down that row, I guess there's a chair with an X on it. And that chair belongs to one of the resident spirits. And I think this might be the only story I'm going to tell you that she told us. Because this is what led Dave to go and do the next part of his investigation. This spirit, what was his name?
Joseph.
Joseph, that's his chair. That's where he sat when he watched movies. It's his chair. He doesn't like it when anyone sits there. So what do we do as an EVP crew?
We sit in the chair.
We sit in the chair. We volunteered Dave.
Well, actually, I was the second one.
Oh,
I went and sat in it first.
Dale,
Okay,
yeah, he got
so
it warmed up. I think
was-
that's why I got the wrath.
I stayed behind and helped her cross over a couple spirits while you guys continued investigating.
Yeah, I
So-
warmed it up and I froze up too much. It started getting way too cold.
Yeah.
Nothing was happening to me
Yeah.
yet, but I lasted as long as I could. I only got man cub skin.
Dang it. 2 jackets.
So I got out of there. But after you took over,
Right. Okay. So first off, it's a very comfy chair. For those chairs being, probably from the
I could see
60s.
why
they
he
got to be
liked
at least 50 years old, at least just the chairs. But so I was sitting there. I had my dowsing rods out again. Really, nothing was happening, and
because none of the equipment was going off for us.
right, and yeah, I had my Ghost Meter Pro on, nothing, no lights. And so I said, well, this is a real comfy chair. I think I'm just going to sit here. I started off with, hey, thanks for letting me sit in your chair. It's nice. Hi, Joseph. How you doing? And because I wasn't getting a response, I did a mild. Yeah, which I paid for. I said, yeah, I think I'm just going to sit in this chair. I think this is my new chair now. I like it, though. It's comfy, something to that effect. And I said, if you want me out, and I have my dowsing rods up still, just cross them, and I'll get up. And like all at once, it was like they crossed, the Ghost Meter Pro lit up, started blinking, and I saw a huge mist go right in front of me. And at this day, I can't tell if it was closer to the screen or the back. And Daniel was in there, right? That's his Mark's son,
yeah.
right? And because he was going wow with it, because everything just went off once. He saw that, but I looked down and I was so flabbergasted. I was seeing, I was like one of the Three Stooges, face. I'm like snapping. I'm like front, and because this thing's just slowly going across. It's just lighter than because you have the exit sign light, but it's lighter than the darkest dark that's kind of at the end there. It's almost lighter than that, and it just went really slow because it is dark in there. Those 2 lights don't do much, and so I got the message and got out of the seat, and I went later and apologized to Joseph. I'm like, hey man, I was just.
You should have.
Apparently he didn't appreciate that, and I was sorry.
No,
I don't want to piss off the local spirits because that's it is his chair. But so I said sorry, no disrespect. I won't do that again.
Well, what's funny is like right before you came walking back into the little lobby room that I was in, I just felt this like sudden sense of like anger, and then you come walking in and you're like, guess what just happened? I just looked at you and I'm like, what did you do? Who did you piss off? Because someone's really mad at you right now.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to. I apologized to Joseph. I didn't think but that was interesting to say the least. But that's really probably the best, especially slow moving shadow thing that I saw right in front of me. And so what do you say? That's about 25 feet to the screen.
Probably.
Yeah.
It went across there, and I just really couldn't tell if it was all the way by the screen or by closer to me. But it was big. It was just it looked like a mist was just floating through. And so I got up. Of course, I went up to the front where it was, or where I thought it was, and it was actually nothing really happened down there. And when I was down there earlier, before story time, I saw the exit sign darken, like something was going in front of it, like a darker shadow. And it was very brief, and I thought I saw some like just green orbs pop in and stuff. And I was telling her, and she said before I told her about the sign, like the shadow will go across the exit sign there in Theater 2. So that was cool.
I forgot to mention too, in the beginning, before we even investigated, I did see some light anomalies kind of going across the ceiling in Theater 1.
Oh, that's right, you did.
And so when you watch your videos, check to see if you see anything up there. Because later during story time, she told us about something on the ceiling, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Where somebody saw something dark, though. They saw something dark on the ceiling.
During they were showing horror movies.
Something. I can't remember what part she was saying.
It was I remember, should I say? Sort of. Was it like something crawling across the ceiling?
Yeah.
Oh, we already gave the disclaimer. Yeah, it was something crawling across the ceiling. If I remember that correctly, if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I remember it was something dark,
I think
though.
I was in the lobby, though.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, there was something someone else had seen in that.
I don't know.
theater.
You'll, like I said,
Yeah.
if you listen after the show's over, I'll have some of these stories that she told us at the end of the episode. So if you don't,
Yeah, you'll have story time after story time.
Yeah. So you there's our story time, and then if you
There's
want,
followed by more story.
Story time, the director's cut.
yes.
After.
So like I said,
broadcast.
I just kind of want to stick with what she did, where she doesn't want to tell people what's going on there. They want to have their own experiences.
Oh yeah,
So,
you know what? Maybe we shouldn't share that.
Any of it, or
Yeah. Well, I mean, our stuff.
we can share our stuff.
Yeah,
but
but maybe we shouldn't share her story time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Okay, we won't.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not sure of the accuracy of what I just said about the thing. I know there was something, but
She did mention that it was in the lobby.
Okay.
Okay.
So you get two of the stories. There was Joseph and the crawly thing on the wall. So, yeah, we probably won't share any of that then.
Yeah, no, after we think about it, huh?
That's okay. She had, I mean, her story
so
time was
many.
probably a good half hour,
Yeah,
45
yeah.
minutes. So we've told you two of the many, many
well,
stories.
she also it also is. I don't think it's a big secret. She told us about the high school teen she gave the seats to and stuff. I don't think
She didn't-
Joseph's actually a big secret.
That was.
Or the locals.
That's
probably
okay. Well, we're done telling her stories because we just said we're not going to tell any more of her stories. Well, let's tell more. No, that was since you brought it up. It was some kids that didn't believe that the place was haunted, and the owner's like, "Oh, well, let's have you come sit here." So, and then the one kid freaked out and left because he saw Joseph sitting there staring at him. So. That's now three of her stories. I mean,
What's the same story?
it's the same story. So it was just some high school kids that didn't believe the place was haunted, and the owner was proving to them that it was. So that's it. We're not going to give you any more stories. We're not going to put it at the end.
What about the one?
We're not going to put it at the end.
well,
We're not going to. You shush. You're done. No more, because Ghosty said no more. But we have our stories, so that's good enough for me. But I do have some audio of, we did a couple more of these sensory sessions.
Yeah.
Because Ghosty wanted to do it, and Dave walked in on our Ghost in Mind session. He interrupted. He made our twosome a menage a trois.
I walked in on him and I said, I want some of that.
Well, it ain't gay unless it's a three-way. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
My-
how the saying goes.
my pleasure.
Oh, that's how I wanted it to go.
Okay. I mean, it's the golden rule from Lonely Island. It's not gay if it's in a three-way. But
I flipped it and reversed it.
yes, you sure did. So we got you set up.
Yeah.
With the AirPods, not AirPods, the earbuds.
The earbuds.
And the Echo Vox. We had you going, and your session went way different than mine. And I will put this at the end of the episode.
Okay, yeah, because that was pretty cool.
I will put the audio that I collected last night. I will put this at the end of the episode. But because I don't remember everything that was asked, but I started asking questions, and it was legit. Like, I mean, you couldn't hear anything I was saying, right?
No, there was times where I could hear that you were talking with the bass in your voice, but I couldn't make out a single word that you were saying.
Yeah, you kept telling me to, like, before we started, like, try to take the bass out of your voice, and it's not in my cards. So I was trying to talk low, like quiet, almost a whisper, if you will, but loud enough to where you can still hear what I'm saying on the audio. But I was asking some questions, and I wish I had gone back and listened to the audio so I knew what questions, but you'll be able to hear this all. You were actually giving me legitimate responses to the questions I was asking, like right as I was asking them.
And that's pretty badass because I was trying. So I was so focused on listening for words to come through that even when I could hear that you were talking, I wasn't trying to listen for what things you were saying because I was so focused on the things I was listening for. And that's pretty awesome that it was happening that fast.
Dave happened to walk up in the middle of this session and was able to verify that, like, the answers he was giving were what I was.
Oh yeah,
totally relevant to the questions I was asking.
because in that scenario of you two, you can't hear the other person.
No.
You're asking questions. You're getting words from the echo box.
Right.
And you can't hear the other one. It's really interesting. And so I'm watching this and I can see both or hear both and see both because I'm not blindfolded. Like some weirdo. And
Not yet, you weren't.
yeah, I know.
Carry blindfolds with me
That's
everywhere.
coming up. I was like, ooh.
We roped you into our
I saw that. I saw him on the floor with a blindfold, and I'm just like, oh, count me in. I'm next, baby. I was tagging him.
Three-way, yes.
Tag me in. And
tag you in. We did.
and so yes, they were legitimate answers to the questions,
And that's pretty
very
cool.
relevant.
Because there was times where like I didn't know how long I was waiting before giving you an answer. I didn't know if like you had asked something and there was this long delay.
See, with me and you when I was doing it, going back and listening to the audio, there were some long delays and there was some silence, and it was kind of like that way at first with your session, but it did get to the point, and it was almost about when Dave came up. It was like
sped up.
We were literally like having a conversation.
Oh
Yes.
hell yeah!
Because there was hardly any pause in between some of the questions.
Right.
Oh no way!
Yes. Oh, so you haven't heard the audio? Like same
No,
thing.
I haven't heard the audio yet.
Disclaimer: the other person hasn't heard the other person's audio yet. Like we don't.
So
I don't have the side. Well, I guess you're asking questions, but as the person in the blindfold and the earbuds, we never heard the questions. I've never heard the questions.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's cool.
So yeah, after mine, you went afterwards because that's how three-ways work.
Yeah. It was my turn. It was my turn.
We each get a turn.
I was like, yeah.
And we started out. We were asking questions and
I like how ours went slow and got faster.
yes. Well, for him it started out slow,
It did.
and then you.
I like to start slow.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Like the Kool-Aid man burst in. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I was
And
like,
then
just take it
you
easy.
got excited.
yeah.
Take it easy at first, all right?
Just going slow.
It's my first time.
Just the tip.
Let's ease into this
Yeah.
carefully.
No, you got to go balls deep.
Yeah.
Hardcore right off the bat. So
Straight to the height of demonification.
yes, we want full on possession. So Ghosty, you took my phone from him and you changed some of the settings.
Yeah,
on the
so
Echo Box.
there was a time there where you weren't really getting answers. Like we were asking things, and
Okay.
there was things not coming through, and then I made some adjustments,
Yes.
and all of a sudden
It
everything
was just like you
changed.
opened a
And I
door.
didn't do much. I just did a few minor things that I felt like needed to happen, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
boom, everything changed, and
I
you were
think-
just spitfiring.
The one thing I said was like west or something, and
You
it
said
was
that
really
a couple times.
It was really, yeah. It was what I was talking about Echovox in the previous podcast, where I think a lot of the times it's just a bunch of gobbledygook, but once you get it in, then it's the good stuff.
Oh, it didn't feel like gobbledygook
Oh,
last
no,
night, did it?
no! This is the good part of the non-gobbledygook. I'm just impatient. Okay,
So
I don't like gobbledygook.
we
I
had
think it
asked. I know at one point we had asked for a name and you gave us Rick.
Rick. So, but it did when he made those adjustments. I guess I didn't know he had done that because it was just a bunch of just the same. Nothing.
It was shortly after this too, where you had told us that you had felt like a cold pressure on your back.
Right. And so it started off slow, and I got like the names of Rick that came through really clear, and then Get Him, and that came up 3 times, I think, at least twice. Get Him,
and then you started saying take him,
right, take him, right. And at this point, and I'm sitting on the floor with the blindfold on, and the noise cancel, and I couldn't hear anything. Because you asked me a question, I was just putting in the other one, and I said, what? And you said exactly. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I could not hear, and because, the Echo Box is fairly loud in your ear.
Yes.
And,
Well, I
which
turned
is
the volume
good.
all the way up for that reason.
Plus, like you said,
I put the
hear-
reverb on.
I hear myself like a half second and only like it maybe 20%
Yeah.
of my volume. So it's nice. So I don't get a lot of, I can't hear you guys. It's higher than.
I was trying to set it up the best I could to where I'm like, yeah, you could, because you're wearing my earbuds and they have the microphone on them. So, I mean, that's how the EchoVox works is if you put on the reverb, it's going to, anything it picks up with the microphone, it's going to play it back. And I just put it back to where it only play it like once.
Right.
I was trying to eliminate as much outside noise as possible.
That was good because I couldn't hear other than, like I said, every so often you could hear like that, like Dale was saying, and sorry, Ghosty was saying, that very, very low.
You could just, it almost sound like maybe like you could say, it would sound like a very quiet, like mumbling, like a very bad, like Class C EVP.
Yeah. No words. I didn't, in fact, I didn't hear that much at all.
No, it's like Ghosty said. You get so focused on trying to hear what the EchoVox is saying. You're not paying attention.
In the couple of 3 minutes, 4 minutes, however long the second part of the story goes, like 4 minutes or so. Wasn't that long? Whatever. I was so focused in on hearing the words that were coming through. But getting back to it, I was leaning up against the wall, and I felt first cold, but not like the shivery cold, almost like
is a spot
getting almost
it's like a centered coldness,
like electrical cold on the inside. That's the only way I can
weird.
explain it.
Yeah,
and it just all of us, it just, as this is going on, it's just squeezing tighter and tighter. Now, like I'm not, stuck in paralysis. I can move anytime I feel, but I'm just letting it happen because it's not.
Yeah, you're just
it's not a bad
it.
thing that's happening, and I hearkened back to you saying about something coming up behind you. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's it. Because I'm just trying to listen to this, and I said I'm getting cold. That was, and I didn't even think I said that's me or something.
I think when you said that, I think I noticed something was already standing behind you or something.
And, but it was, and it had me wrapped tight, and it got tighter and tighter. But not again internal. I could break free anytime. I'm just letting it. Something is trying to make itself. And then I started hearing, hit him or get him.
That was right when I made those adjustments.
Yes. And it started off with like Rick. I heard Stafford, but it was like Stafford. And I don't want to be like if there's a class on that, I say it's a Class C.
But it could have been
but
Staff.
I think it came after Rick.
Could have been Staff.
Yeah.
Could have been Rick Ford.
Rick Ford. Come on down to Rick Ford.
Yes.
He's got balloons for the kids. And it started getting dark, and
the energy shifted real quick.
And I'm starting to, and now I'm starting to really feel this, and I haven't had a lot of experiences like this before, and so I realize that something is happening like that I've never felt in any sort of lengthy period where I just was like giving myself to go, all right, whatever you want to say, I'll say, or you want me to hear, I'll hear. And those words were popping out of that, and they were like assault, throat, bruise, and I was just going off, and I don't know how many words.
Take him,
get him, or hit it.
It was take him,
okay, and West.
Because I asked at that point, I'm like, take him where, and you said West.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
And so and I did not know that. So I'm just going, and I'm like completely like kind of locked in almost. Yeah. And I'm trying to like contain my excitement because I think this is really cool because I'm not feeling anything like bad. Like something wants me to tell somebody something or hear something.
Don't worry. I was feeling the bad for you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, but that's the thing. Is I was feeling the bad as well. It was like I was in a battle of like trying to contain all these different stimuli that's going on right now. The sadness of what's trying to talk through me, the excitement of me. Like I said in that on the message, I said all these different emotions clashing and still trying to just read this thing. And I'm thinking I started shaking, just not like horribly, but just like I'm cold, but because I think I was just trying to hold the pose like I'm in yoga or something, and then it just going faster and faster, and I know my voice tone was probably, I was trying to sound like the voice.
Yeah, like panicked.
Yeah, like when I was just basically trying to get the inflection of the voice that I was hearing.
Right.
And
No, you were doing a good job at that.
I hope it comes through. I don't know if we can hear that when it's the Echo Vox.
I could hear that you were saying it fast, like it was
Right.
trying
No,
to...
I mean, like if I could hear, I wish I could hear that again, because sometimes you just. But it wasn't even like the Echo Vox anymore. In my head, it was the voice.
But it sounded like there was just so
and
many
it was a
words.
male and a female.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and it wasn't the female said assault. The guy or the male said he said throat and bruise. But there's a woman that said assault. Oh God, it was just, and there's other words in there too, and they just.
And then there's someone else yelling, "Make it stop."
Yeah, and then
That was
and it was sad.
I
It
just
was
said
so
stop. There was no make it stop. It was just I kept repeating stop, stop, stop,
yeah.
stop.
And I couldn't.
Oh, yeah,
and I
yeah,
couldn't
you
hear
did.
him, but it was just letting the voice was just or the words coming out of the Echo Vox were just so distinct and had almost like a different tone from the ones the ones that play.
I can't believe how many were coming out at a time. Like it
was like everyone. It almost ceased to be other than the ones, but like usually you're like little boy,
yeah, a lot of goobly gop.
Yeah, and it wasn't a lot of that. It was like every third sound was a word that sound pronounced, and it was the craziest thing. And again, I'm just like down, and I'm just trying to keep it together with all this stuff happening. Because there was definitely a lot of like. Yeah, not sadness so much like Tim felt, but I'd say more like
Panic,
yes, and like help me from the female, and the guy saying what he did. If that's who they are, if that's what's going on,
that's
it could be just another.
What I
it could be a spirit telling the story for all I know.
Because even from Beaker, like the whole panic mode of everything, that's what I was getting from everything.
Right, and then finally,
So I felt like part of me saying stop wasn't me saying stop.
Right,
Does that
you were
make sense?
saying, yeah.
I think it is possible that I was channeling the spirit and it was her saying stop, not me. And then we Ghosty had to reach down and make it stop, and then I just started crying.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
The sobs came.
The emotional empath part of me kicked in.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is not funny that you're crying. Well,
It is funny. I cry like a
at
bitch.
the time it wasn't funny, but now it's funny. But Dale had to tap me on the knee. Ghosty, but Ghostface had to tap me on the knee and get me to stop. And I it's almost like I came to because I was blindfolded and had these noise canceling earphones, and it did stop, and he tapped me, and I pulled up, and then I could hear you because you're like, oh right, you're like stop, and you like tap me, and
Yeah, that's when I ended up tapping.
You got to talk into this,
Oh, okay.
not off to the side of it.
Not behind
Sometimes I feel like I eat the mic. Okay. Well, Ghosty had to tap me on the knee several times, and I could hear him say stop because he was saying it fairly loud. And I took the blindfold off and the earplugs, and I saw Beaker over there with crying.
Looked like I kicked his ass,
but which didn't surprise me. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because you're more empathic than
Yes.
So yeah, you're
But
not.
just with the
I
words
don't
coming
look at it as
through.
like Tim's crying. I look at, Beaker's crying. I look at it to whatever he's feeling or whatever the spirit is, and as we found out why. And there's more to that's like when you talk to the, I don't know if you're going to tell that story, but
No, probably not.
it's so that was so and as soon as we stopped it, like everything lifted off me.
But hey, if you can kind of gather from the words that you said, there was most likely an assault that happened.
Exactly. And there's more words. Like I said, it was so, like I talk about other spirits. Like I said, that's where I would say like maybe somebody was speaking through me, channeling me. And I don't know what that feels like, because I've never had that happen to like that. The thing that happened to the family tree, that was like a blind side of something else.
This is a really cool experiment, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this again more and more.
Yes, it's so.
We're gonna buy some better headphones. We're gonna get a Faraday bag so we can use the SB7 as well.
Get a better blindfold.
Yeah.
A noise canceling blindfold.
It was legit like a free blindfold I got during a energy session I did in
Thailand.
in Thailand. Yeah. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Is that is that in Thailand?
No, that's in Africa.
I climbed a mountain to see a Buddhist priest, and he gave me a blindfold.
and a cup of coffee.
Anticlimactic story.
Yeah, it was.
Cup of coffee and a blindfold. It's like, don't speak.
Never speak of this again. Yeah, what else is that? What the ANC noise canceling thing too? So it'll be more clear words that'll come through instead of just the.
So it was a really interesting experiment. I've heard of people doing it. I've seen it on TV. Never done it before last night.
We got some good results,
and it was amazing on what actually occurred.
But yeah, that was a pretty good time last night.
Because we did try the SB7 in the main theater with my plugged into
we got too much
a speaker, and it was just I was getting so much actual radio stations. Even going from FM to AM, we're still picking up a lot of radio stations.
It's Tooele. What do you think they listen to?
Nothing.
The AM
they have
station.
the radio apparently, but they don't have the internet.
They watch Lawrence Welk on TV.
They listen to AM stations. That's why.
It's like PBS.
So
that's
why we switched. Well, the other reason why we switched to the Echo Box is because that's the only headphones I had. Available. So, it was very interesting, and I definitely plan on doing that more.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be getting some tickets for this pretty soon in the next few months. So look out for that.
Yeah, it's like I said, it will be very limited on how many people we will bring with us. So when those do go on sale, look for
act
it.
Fast.
Act fast.
Act fast.
Act fast. But in the meantime, you should check out our affiliate link to GoStop.com and buy some of the gear that we just talked about that we're going to buy if you want it for yourself, and check out all the other gear they have. It's GoStop is where we buy pretty much all of our ghost hunting equipment. If you would like to follow us on social media, DVO has been doing a lot of react videos on other paranormal teams stuff and asking people to weigh in on their thoughts of what's going on in the videos. You could find us on the social medias, evp.pod, Instagram and Facebook. Or if you've got a story you'd like to share with us, you can email us at evp.pod@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you've had an experience at the Ritz Theater there in Tooele, for any local listeners, let us know. We'd like to hear about it.
It definitely went to a favorite place to go, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool place to go.
Like I said, I probably had more experiences there in one night than I have probably in the last few years.
And it was crazy. And it all kind of happened probably all towards that last little bit.
Yeah, because it was like really slow to start with, and then it just it picked up at the end of the night.
Last 2 hours, hour and a half was went off after story time. Story time evoked the wrath of the theater.
So do you think having story time affected like how we were investigating?
Well, it would just give us like where to go, I think.
Well, and see, the thing is, like where we were doing the sensory thing, that was something we'd already picked, or Ghosty had already picked out before story time.
Exactly.
So that's why we went back there, is because I wanted to see what would happen when he did it.
Without saying what happened, she told you what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, she didn't tell us anything about that room.
Right. I mean, but the act.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. She did mention that. That was part of story time, but that I don't think that's what led the conversation though, because I was just asking like simple questions. We're in a movie theater. Did you come here to see movies? And it just went in a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
So it is somewhere we'll be back, and we'll probably take some of you with us.
That's right. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Ghosty don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
Robots don't say ye.
This is the EVP Podcast.
Are you standing behind me right now? Yeah. That's you right behind me, isn't it? Can you touch my buddy that's sitting here? Can you touch him in the arm?
Look up.
Are you above him right now? Are you still standing behind me? Yes.
Are you you standing behind my friend that's sitting on the floor? Were you standing behind him earlier when we were up here?
Yes.
Do you like coming here and watching the movies?
Listen.
What do you want me to listen to?
What I say.
Okay, what are you saying?
This side.
Do you want to be on the other side?
Yeah.
So, are you wanting us to cross you over?
What's there?
Peace, joy, happiness, forgiveness, love. Your family, friends, people that you miss. People that won't judge you or hurt you.
Animals.
They are there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll ask questions, and if you think you hear something, just repeat it back.
Don't try to pay attention to our voices either.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Exactly.
All right, Dave, can you hear what I'm saying? Okay, so is the spirit that I was just talking to still here wanting to communicate? As a female spirit. Can you tell me your name?
10. Rick.
Rick?
Rick, are you pretty tall? Are you taller than Tim over here?
West.
Can you tell me how tall you are? Or how old you are?
Do you want to get crossed over, Rick?
I don't know. There's a lot of live.
Try changing one of the, what is it that you want help with?
Fort. Harm him. Ghost.
Who?
Dude, I'm getting so cold.
Who is being harmed?
Are you standing right here again? Are you standing behind him?
Yes.
Are you from Germany?
Here.
Are you able to touch his head?
Assault.
Who assaulted you?
Take him.
Is there somebody that you want out of here?
Take him.
Who are we taking?
West.
Is the name West, or does someone need to go west?
You assist him?
Do I need to assist him, or I already did?
Throat. Bruise. Stop. Stop.
From this
stop.
room?
Stop. Stop. Make it stop.
Good. Hold on, stop. You good? You good? It's me.